Welcome back. It has been more than a year since the rise of the Me Too movement and the circumstances around that movement really catered toward having a different atmosphere at work for women and men both. But now, what are some of the ramifications of this particular movement on that relationship between man and woman in the workplace? Well, the video that we're going to review today talks about that very topic. So let's get into the video and see what we can learn.
Women are still navigating the effects of the male-dominated workplaces a year and a half after the rise of the Me Too movement. Now, that's according to a new study by leanin.org. That's an organization dedicated to helping women achieve their goals. It found, and these numbers are very troubling, 60% of male managers say they are uncomfortable interacting with women at work, and that's up 32% from 2018. Workplace interactions that men are nervous about include mentoring, socializing, and having one-on-one meetings with women.
So now let's pause right there. 2018, 28%. 2019, 60%. That's more than double. And did you notice that a lot of the difficulties that these male managers are having is that they're uncomfortable with having one-on-one meetings, with socializing with individuals of the opposite sex. So let's keep going now. Remember that point. Let's keep going though.
Sheryl Sandberg, Leanin's founder and Facebook's chief operating officer, is with us first on CBS This Morning with a look at the survey's results. Sheryl, good morning to you.
Thank you all for having me because this topic is so important.
No, I read the numbers and my mouth fell open. I'm thinking, what message does it send?
Well, we're in a bad place. So 60% of male managers in the U.S., 60% are afraid to have a one-on-one meeting with a woman.
How do you get promoted without a one-on-one meeting?
No one's ever gotten promoted without a one-on-one meeting. I feel confident in that. Men, senior men right now, are 9 times more likely to hesitate to travel with a woman and 6 times more likely to hesitate to have a work dinner. And the problem is that even before this, women, and especially women of color, do not get the same amount of mentoring as men, which means we're not getting an equal seat at the table. And, you know, it's not enough to not harass us. You need to not ignore us either.
Do you think they have cause to feel that way?
Well, I think it's a false trade-off. I think people can travel. I think people can go to dinner. I think people can have one-on-one meetings. All of those things can be done in public places, and everyone can behave appropriately. But if there's a man out there who doesn't want to have a work dinner with a woman, my message is simple. Don't have one with a man.
Yeah.
Group lunches for everyone. Make it explicit, make it thoughtful, make it equal.
People don't get promoted in group lunches either.
Correct.
You have to have a one-on-one meeting. And the reason why this troubles me so much is that if men are doing the right thing and they're behaving appropriately, they don't have to worry about any of this. They don't have to worry about being accused.
Okay. Up until this point, I could absolutely agree, but I do not agree with that thought. I don't. Because the premise here is simple. If I'm behaving the way I should, then I don't have to worry about losing my company, my livelihood, everything that I've built with my hands, the way that I provide for my family. Is that correct? Now, I think what we're doing, we're leaving out an element where an individual could falsify themselves. To put plainly, we're leaving out the element of the lie. Individuals from all the way back in history, from whatever time period you look at, there have been individuals that have been willing to be dishonest for personal gain. So now, if it means that I'm able to sue an individual or their business, or if it means that the individual that's my manager gets replaced with another manager, or any of those consequences, individuals have been willing to be dishonest to get ahead in life. So what you're telling me is that it's an impossibility for a man to operate in these situations above board, being honest, being trustworthy, and then sometime in the future, not have to worry about allegations of misconduct. If we are living with that presumption, we are absolutely wrong. But let's keep going. Let's continue.
You say men need to step up.
Men need to step up. We need to redefine what it means to be a good guy at work. It's not enough to not harass, and I think too many people think that's sufficient. That's necessary, that's a basic, but it's not sufficient. Women need equal opportunity. And what does that mean? Equal time in meetings. It means the right kind of feedback. So a recent study of performance reviews showed that 66% of women got feedback on how they work, their style, they're too aggressive, they're too this, they're too that. Do you know what percentage of men got that feedback?
Probably not a lot.
Less than one. Less
The
than.
behavior. What
That's
essentially
right.
they're saying their behavior.
Yeah,
That's
what is
right.
style feedback? Yeah, what
Style
is that?
feedback is how you behave, it's how you do the work you do, not the work you do. So women are getting feedback that they're too bossy, they're too aggressive, they're too this, they're too that, and men are getting feedback on their work. And that's one of the reasons why men get more promotions. Also, that informal time, when the boss takes a trip, takes a junior colleague, that person gets all of that context, all of that time to spend with the boss. Who do you think gets promoted?
At the same time now, remember we're talking about informal time. So there's time that's outside of business hours. There's time that's outside of the allocated time, that 40-hour work week. It's outside of that. So now if an individual is a manager or a boss and he goes out to dinner with one of his colleagues and she just happens to be female after hours, and they're sitting and they're talking, can that situation be misconstrued? Can someone look at this situation and say, oh, they're on a date? Absolutely they could. And see, that small instance of indecision about whether or not this is a business dinner or an informal dinner makes the difference between this man continuing to move forward and progress in his business and having everything that he worked for taken away. So why is it that individuals can't understand the reluctance that's there? The reluctance, because if I'm dealing with you according to what you say is the correct way, to be open to having these informal meetings, to be open to you traveling, and I say I don't feel comfortable because of what has happened as of late with individuals who are male and the way that they deal with their female colleagues. If I say I'm uncomfortable, what is the problem with that? If I'm saying I'm not willing to risk my livelihood for a situation that could be misconstrued, that's the only point I'm making here. Let's keep going.
And so our message is really simple. If we want to stop sexual harassment in the workplace, one of the things that does that most effectively is having more senior women. The only way we're going to get more senior women is if women are getting the same numbers of meetings, the same one-on-one coaching, the same feedback on their work, so that they can get the promotions they deserve.
So other than men not meeting with male colleagues if they're worried about meeting with, because everybody knows about gossip. There's gossip in our industry. And so...
and you said that with a straight face.
Yeah, you did that really well.
Yes.
And so there's gossip, and surely men are not crazy to think, gee, if I have a one-on-one lunch or have this mentoring meeting, the gossip gets out of control. Suddenly I'm having to explain something when nothing was done wrong. What other steps then should men do if they have these concerns about what can happen in a workplace where, again, they have no control over when tongues start wagging?
Well, look, I'm with Gail. You have to be able to have a one-on-one conversation. And those conversations can happen in rooms with the doors open. In a public restaurant, having a lunch or dinner, I don't really think you can get falsely accused of something. And so I think men need to step up, and they need to say, in order to get women promoted, those women need the same coaching, the same feedback, the same opportunities that men get.
Okay, so that is basically the end of the interview where they're discussing what men should do in the workplace in regards to how they promote, how they deal with the relationships that they have with their female colleagues. And I think, for my part, that the rhetoric that we just heard is just a bit disingenuous. I think it is. Because any situation that you're involved in with someone of the opposite sex, if the door is open, if you're at a public restaurant, any of those situations can be misconstrued. They can be. If you're, let's say for instance that you have a manager and he is having a one-on-one discussion with a female colleague, and he is vetting her for a promotion. Now, as they mentioned, the door is open. They're talking back and forth, but who is privy to what's said in the conversation? Are the individuals around able to clearly hear what's going on in the conversation? Of course not, because that kind of conversation has a level of privacy, because the manager has to disclose the way that the female colleague is progressing. That's a personal subject. That's something that's between that manager and that colleague, or that employee, I should say. So if that's private and personal information, that wouldn't be a situation where everyone in the office would be privy to. Yet again, I'm saying, because you're in that circumstance, if someone were to file a complaint of sexual harassment in that circumstance, it could still be a problem. It could still be difficult for that individual, because now there's been an accusation of sexual harassment, even though it may not be proven and you might not ever be able to prove it. The accusation is still in the air, and that lingering accusation can cost an individual his resources, what he's worked for. And then another thing I think that's a bit disingenuous about this conversation, you heard that it was stated that in order to prevent sexual harassment, you need to involve more women in the executive role, more women to be managers, more women to take the lead in companies. So are we under the impression that women are not capable of sexual harassment? Is that what we're saying? So in order to look at this subject objectively, without bringing in any emotionality into it, if you were to look at it and think about the things that have been said in this interview, the Me Too movement was necessary because I feel that no man or woman should use their power in a way that demeans individuals who they employ or individuals who they've been tasked with overseeing. That just shouldn't happen. But in this situation, because the movement has grown and it has progressed so speedily, individuals who are managers, who are business owners, individuals who take a leading role in an organization, they are very, very careful with their actions. They're careful because they don't want to have to deal with sexual harassment or an accusation of sexual harassment. So it should be understood why this kind of behavior is prevalent, because nobody wants to have to fight off accusations in court, and then if accusations aren't proven to beyond a reasonable degree, then you have everything that you worked for in your life jeopardized. She's saying men need to step up, but in this instance, everybody just needs to be more truthful. They need to be more truthful. I'm not having a one-on-one luncheon with you because I don't want to jeopardize my company. Just tell the truth. Just let that be the reason why this is going on. And so, like she mentioned, an alternative, we're conducting a business, so an alternative is to have someone there with you. Now, I would go with that. Not necessarily a group luncheon or, an informal meeting, but if you are a manager, why not have another manager there with you as you're going over this person's qualifications, or if there's a promotion that's in the works, than have someone there with you that's reviewing their qualifications for their promotion. This makes good sense to me. That has been my thoughts on the video. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe. Be easy.